Layla, the oven, turn it off. Her mother's voice cut through laughter, slicing the night in two. Layla Pierce spun toward the kitchen, the smell already wrong, sweet, then bitter, then sharp enough to sting her eyes. She ran barefoot across the tiles, her phone still in her hand, the glow of her friend's texts flashing happy birthday queen. Then came the real fire. The explosion wasn't cinematic. It was raw, like the world tearing open. A scream ripped from her throat as orange light swallowed the walls. The curtains ignited first, a flash like sunlight breaking apart. Her mother's figure blurred behind the smoke. Layla, get out. Heat struck her face. Her lungs clawed for air that wasn't there. She grabbed the counter, tried to find the doorway, but her vision danced gold, white, black. Her phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor, screen cracking into a spiderweb of light. A figure moved through the smoke, her father coughing, his arm around her mother. Go, Layla. Outside, he yelled, pushing her toward the hallway. She turned once, saw the flames climb higher, licking across the family photos, consuming the only world she'd ever known. Then the ceiling groaned. A sound like thunder cracked above her, and everything came down at once. When she woke, it was silent. Too silent. The world had emptied itself of sound. Her throat felt like sandpaper. Her eyes wouldn't open fully. Something heavy pressed against her chest. Then came the voices, muffled, distant, underwater. She's alive. Pulse weak. 70% burns, prepare the mask. Pain arrived like a delayed explosion. It wasn't sharp, it was everywhere, blooming through her body, curling around her bones. She wanted to scream but no sound came. The world turned white, then black again. Days passed, or maybe weeks, she couldn't tell. When her eyes opened, she was trapped beneath layers of gauze and antiseptic light. Machines beeped beside her, rhythm steady, almost cruel. The walls smelled of bleach and metal. She tried to move her hand. It trembled like it belonged to someone else. A nurse leaned over her. Hey, sweetheart. You're okay. You're safe. Safe. The word meant nothing. Layla blinked slowly, her thoughts flickering like broken film reels. Fire. Screams. Her mother's face. Where were they now? She tried to speak, but her lips cracked open in silence. Don't strain, the nurse whispered. You've been through a lot. The nurse smiled with practiced softness, but her eyes flicked, just for a second, toward Layla's bandaged face. That tiny flicker told Layla more than any words. Something was wrong. Something permanent. That night, when the lights dimmed, Layla lay awake, the rhythmic hiss of the oxygen machine whispering like a clock counting down her old life. She could feel the air against her skin, or what was left of it. Every breath carried a faint scent of smoke that wasn't really there. Her father visited the next day. He stood by the doorway, flowers in hand, eyes red and tired. Hey, baby girl, he said, voice catching. You made it. She tried to smile but couldn't feel her cheeks. He hesitated before coming closer. They said the doctors said you're healing. It'll take time, but you're strong. You always were. He set the flowers down on the table without looking at her. The air between them felt like glass, fragile and full of reflections neither wanted to see. She waited for him to sit, to hold her hand, but he didn't. His gaze hovered somewhere above her head. When he finally left, the nurse adjusted the blinds. Light from the hallway spilled across the white sheets, turning them the same color as the fire that had ruined her. Layla turned her face away. Weeks later, the bandages came off. The doctor's tone was cautious, rehearsed. We've made excellent progress, he said, avoiding her eyes. There will be scarring, of course, but... Just show me, she whispered. He nodded at the nurse, who slowly unwrapped the final layers. The air touched her skin like knives. The mirror waited on the opposite wall, small, tilted, harmless. When she looked, her breath stopped. Half of her face was gone. The right side, from brow to chin, was a map of pink, silver, and melted textures. Her mouth curved unevenly, her eyes slightly closed from the pull of damaged tissue. She stared until the doctor's voice became a hum. It'll fade, he said gently. Over time. Fade? How do you fade from half a person to whole again? She touched her cheek. No sensation. Just pressure. A numbness that stretched deeper than skin. Her reflection blinked at her, both familiar and foreign. The nurse whispered, "You're beautiful, Layla." but even her pity sounded like glass breaking. At night, Layla watched her phone on the tray beside her bed. She scrolled through messages, hundreds of missed calls, sympathetic emojis, and one from her best friend. "You'll get through this, stay strong, girl." But under her name were more posts, comments, tagged photos. Someone had leaked her hospital picture. A nurse? A friend? She didn't know. The caption read, "The Fire Queen survived, but not her looks." Tens of thousands of likes. Laughter in the replies. Hashtags that turned her pain into entertainment. Her hand shook as she dropped the phone. Tears didn't come, they couldn't. The heat had stolen even that. Outside, thunder rolled across the horizon, rattling the hospital windows. Somewhere deep in her chest, something cracked open. A space where fear and grief used to live. In its place, something colder formed. She whispered to no one, her voice rasping through bandages. "You took my face. But not me." The words trembled, but they existed, and that was enough. For the first time since the fire, Layla felt the smallest flicker of power. It was fragile, buried beneath scars and silence, but it was there. She turned her head toward the window, watching lightning flash across the sky. Each strike lit the world in sharp white light. Brief, beautiful, and broken, just like her. And somewhere deep inside, she made a promise. If the world wanted to stare at her pain, she'd make sure they saw all of it. The girl who burned would not stay burned. Morning light seeped through the blinds, slicing her room into pale stripes. Layla blinked against it, her eye dry and sore. The world was sharper now, cruel in its clarity. Every sound echoed too loud. The rustle of sheets, the faint hiss of air conditioning, the sterile hum that filled every second. She was awake, but nothing around her felt alive. Nurses came and went, speaking softly as if volume could break her further. They wrote notes, checked tubes, and left her to the kind of silence that makes a person think too long. Each time she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the window, she turned away. The person staring back was a stranger wearing her pain. One morning, her therapist arrived. Dr. Marianne Caldwell, mid-40s, precise, with eyes that had seen too much. She spoke calmly, her tone almost mechanical. "Layla, today we'll start with movement therapy. It'll help restore function to your face and hands." Layla nodded but didn't answer. The sound of her own voice still scared her. It came out rough, uneven, like the echo of someone else's throat. Dr. Caldwell raised a mirror, a small handheld circle framed in plastic. "You'll need to face it eventually," she said gently. "It's not punishment. It's reality." Layla looked, hesitated, then took it. The mirror trembled in her hands. The reflection was uneven, her features bent and twisted by both the glass and her fear. She could barely recognize herself. "I don't want to see her," Layla whispered. "Then who do you want to see?" the therapist asked. "I don't know." Dr. Caldwell leaned closer. "That's the work. You'll find her again. Piece by piece." When the session ended, Layla sat alone, the mirror still in her lap. The nurses dimmed the lights. The hallway beyond her door was empty. Somewhere down the corridor, someone was crying. She pressed the mirror flat against her thigh and stared at the floor until her vision blurred. Later that evening, an orderly came in, a young man named Ethan. He was new, awkward, careful not to meet her gaze for too long. "Dinner time," he said, placing a tray on her table. "Soup, bread, something sweet in a cup." She didn't answer. Ethan hesitated before leaving. "My cousin was burned once. Hands mostly. Took years, but he's doing fine now." Layla's voice cracked. "Was he in pictures online?" Ethan paused. "No." "Then he's fine," she said. He looked at her for a moment, as if searching for the right thing to say, then quietly left. When she was alone again, she turned toward the window. Outside, the city glowed. Tiny dots of life moving in a world that had forgotten her. She imagined her classmates scrolling through their feeds, seeing her face, laughing, pretending they cared. Her phone lay silent now, its screen black, notifications long stopped. The next morning, Dr. Caldwell returned. "We're moving you to a new room," she said. "More space, better privacy." Two orderlies wheeled her bed through long corridors that smelled of disinfectant and rain. The hospital's west wing was older, cracked tiles, peeling paint, a faint echo that followed every sound. The walls felt heavier here, like the building remembered too much. Her new room was small but quiet. One window faced a garden overrun with weeds. The air was still, carrying the faint scent of earth after rain. Beside her bed stood a wooden dresser and above it, an antique mirror, oval-shaped, its frame tarnished with age. When the orderlies left, Layla studied it. The surface was cloudy, the kind of glass that seemed to hold secrets. She caught her own reflection in fragments, the curve of her shoulder, the scar on her jaw, the faint outline of her surviving eye. Something about it unsettled her. It didn't reflect like normal glass. The light bent strangely, as if the mirror saw her differently than she saw herself. That night she couldn't sleep. Rain tapped against the window. The machines hummed softly beside her bed. She turned toward the mirror again. In the dim light, her reflection seemed to move slower than she did, like a second version of herself trapped in time. She blinked once. The reflection blinked a heartbeat later. She stared harder. Nothing. Just her own tired face, her scars half hidden in shadow. "You're imagining things," she whispered to herself. The next day, she woke to find Dr. Caldwell sitting by the window, clipboard in hand. "How are you feeling?" "Tired." "Nightmares?" "Just memories." Dr. Caldwell nodded. "That's common after trauma. Your brain replays the moments it can't accept." "I don't want to remember." "I know," the therapist said softly. "But you can't heal what you refuse to face." Layla's gaze flicked toward the mirror. "Then maybe I'll never heal." Dr. Caldwell followed her eyes, studying the mirror for a moment. "Old thing, isn't it? Probably left from before the renovation." Layla nodded slowly. "It's strange. It feels alive." Dr. Caldwell smiled faintly. "Sometimes our minds project meaning onto objects when we feel disconnected from people. It's a coping mechanism." After she left, Layla lay still for hours staring at the mirror. The hospital sounds faded. The only movement was the flicker of light shifting across the walls as clouds passed outside. She wanted to look away but couldn't. She whispered, "Who are you?" For a moment, nothing. Then the faintest glimmer ran through the glass, a flicker like breath fogging the surface. Layla froze. She leaned closer. Her reflection's lips parted slightly, as if trying to form words she couldn't hear. She jerked back, heartbeat thundering. Her pulse monitor beeped faster. When she looked again, the reflection was normal. That night, she dreamt of fire. Not the chaos of the explosion, but something slower. She stood in her old kitchen, watching the flames crawl up the wallpaper like they were alive. Her mother's voice echoed from somewhere behind the smoke, calling her name. She turned, but the mirror from her new room hung on the wall where the window used to be. In the reflection, her mother was standing there, untouched, smiling, reaching out. Layla reached too, fingertips brushing the glass. It was cold, wet, almost breathing. She woke gasping, her hand pressed against the real mirror's frame. Her pulse raced. The surface felt cool under her skin, solid and still. But as she drew her hand away, she saw it. A faint outline of her fingerprint left behind, glowing softly before fading into the glass. For the first time since the fire, she didn't feel alone. The first visitor came 2 weeks later. Her name was Emily Novak, Layla's best friend since childhood, the girl who used to share secrets in the dark and promise forever. Layla heard her before she saw her, that nervous giggle she used to love. The sound made her chest ache. The door opened and the light from the hallway poured in. Emily stood there holding a bouquet of cheap flowers, smiling like she'd stepped into a stranger's room by mistake. "Oh my God, Layla," she said softly. You look good. So much better than I thought." Layla turned her head toward the window, letting her hair cover part of her face. "You saw the pictures," she said. Emily hesitated. "Everyone did. It was horrible. I didn't know what to say." "You didn't have to say anything. You could have just come." "I wanted to." Her voice trembled. "It's just, people said you didn't want visitors. People lied." The silence stretched. The machine beeped steadily beside the bed. Layla kept her eyes on the reflection in the mirror. Emily's image appeared behind her. Faint, distorted, but clear enough. She noticed something strange. Emily's reflection wasn't matching her movements. Her smile in the glass looked frozen, too wide, almost forced. Layla blinked, and the reflection changed. For a split second, the mirror showed Emily looking away, guilt clouding her eyes, mouth pressed tight like she was swallowing words she didn't want to say. Then it was gone. Layla's pulse quickened. You told them, didn't you? Emily's head snapped up. What? The photo. The one everyone posted. You were the only one who had that number. Emily stammered. Layla, I swear I didn't. Someone hacked. Stop. Layla's voice was calm, sharp as glass. You didn't come here to say sorry. You came to make yourself feel better. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. That's not true. Then look at me, Layla said. Emily tried, but her gaze fell to the floor. The silence was louder than the machines. She mumbled something, dropped the flowers on the table and left. Layla watched her reflection linger a second longer in the mirror before fading away. That night she didn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes she saw faces, laughing, crying, fading. The mirror stood across the room, its surface catching the glow of the monitor lights. She thought she saw movement inside it again, faint and restless. In the morning, a nurse entered with her breakfast. You've got another visitor today, she said with forced cheer. Your boyfriend, Tyler. Layla froze. Send him in. Tyler walked in with the casual arrogance she remembered. He was handsome once, charming, confident, the kind of boy who loved cameras more than people. Now he looked uncomfortable, out of place. Hey, he said softly. You look strong. You're doing better. She studied him, noting how he kept glancing at the half of her face that wasn't burned. Why are you here, Tyler? I just wanted to check on you. You already did, she said quietly. Online. He swallowed hard. Layla, that wasn't me. The posts, people twisted it. I saw your caption. He looked down. It was a joke, okay? I didn't mean anything by it. She almost laughed. A joke? My skin melted off and you made a joke. He stepped forward, guilt in his eyes. I panicked. Everyone was asking what happened and I didn't know how to handle it. You could have handled it by not turning it into a trend. He sighed, running his hand through his hair. You don't get it. I was hurting too. Layla stared at him, stunned. You were hurting? Yeah. Seeing you like that. It messed me up. Her reflection in the mirror shifted. Tyler's mirrored face looked different there, darker, colder. His mouth twisting in a smirk that wasn't on his real face. Layla watched, her heart pounding. The mirror. Tyler leaned closer, whispered something she couldn't hear. She whispered back. What did you say? Tyler frowned. What? Nothing, she said. Just leave. He hesitated. Layla, please. I still. Go. When he was gone, the silence felt heavier than before. Layla turned to the mirror. Why do you show me that? She whispered. The reflection didn't answer. But the air around the mirror felt colder, thicker. She thought she saw faint ripples in the glass like breath against frost. Over the next few days more people came. Classmates, neighbors, relatives she barely knew. Each one spoke the same hollow words. You're so strong. We're praying for you. But the mirror told her what they really felt. One girl's reflection showed disgust hidden beneath pity. Another boy's reflection smiled while his real face looked away. A teacher's eyes glowed with guilt. He'd once mocked her for being vain. Layla stopped listening to their words and started watching the glass. Every truth she saw made her chest feel lighter, sharper, more alive. One evening her father came. He looked older, smaller somehow, his suit hanging loosely on him. Hey kiddo, he said softly. I'm sorry I haven't been around much. Things have been complicated. Work. He nodded. The house insurance, the lawyers. It's all messy. She stared at him. And Mom. He hesitated. Your mother's still in recovery. She can't walk yet. They're keeping her at another facility. She didn't call. She's not ready. Layla's voice trembled. Or she doesn't want to see me. He didn't answer. In the mirror his reflection turned slightly, showing his face full of something that looked like shame. His eyes were wet, but not from sadness, something closer to fear. Layla whispered. You're afraid of me. He flinched. What? Of what I became. He looked away. That's not true. She almost smiled. It's okay. The mirror already told me. He followed her gaze, his eyes landing on the antique glass. That old thing? It gives me chills, he muttered. Maybe we should get it out of here. Her tone was calm. No. I want it to stay. When he left, she stared at her own reflection long after the door closed. The mirror's surface shifted faintly, showing a dozen blurred faces. People who had stood in that room, their lies, their secrets, all flickering like ghosts. Layla whispered, "You're showing me the truth." The reflection blinked once slowly as if agreeing. For the first time since the fire, Layla didn't feel powerless. The scars on her face no longer felt like marks of shame but symbols carved by survival. The world had fled from her, but in that fleeing, it had revealed itself completely. She reached out, tracing her fingertips along the cool glass. "Then show me more," she said softly. And somewhere deep within the mirror's depth, something began to move. The world outside her hospital window no longer felt real. Cars moved, people laughed, lights blinked on and off in a rhythm she couldn't touch. Layla had become a spectator to her own life, trapped behind glass twice, one around her body, one in her mind. But the mirror in her room had begun to change that. It was no longer just an object, it was a witness. Every secret, every lie she saw reflected in it, made her feel closer to something she didn't understand. It was a rainy afternoon when Ethan brought her a new phone. "Dr. Caldwell thought it might help you reconnect," he said. "Messages, calls, whatever you need." Layla took it slowly, her fingers stiff from months of disuse. "Does anyone need me?" she asked quietly. He hesitated. "People still talk about you." She unlocked the phone. Her hands shook slightly. Notifications flooded the screen. Comments, mentions, tags. Videos. The headline on one made her stomach turn. "The burned beauty who blamed everyone." She tapped it open. Someone had edited her hospital photos into a montage. Slow music, captions about fake victims, and clips from an interview her father had given to a local reporter. "She's strong," he'd said on camera. "But she has anger issues. We're trying to get her help." Anger issues. Layla's hands trembled. She pressed play on another video. It was Tyler again, standing in a parking lot giving an interview. "She's changed," he said. "She used to care about people. Now she's obsessed with revenge. I tried to reach out, but she's gone." Gone. The mirror behind her caught her movement. Her reflection stared back, but the expression wasn't the same. The mirrored Layla looked calm, composed, almost smiling. She turned. "Why are you smiling?" she whispered to her reflection. The reflection tilted its head. For a split second, Layla thought she saw fire flicker in its eyes, a faint orange glow that faded as quickly as it appeared. That night she couldn't stop watching. She scrolled through every post, every cruel comment, every lie. Maybe she did it to herself. She's milking sympathy. She used to act like a princess. Now she looks like a monster. The words blurred together until they stopped hurting and started hardening. At 3 in the morning she opened her front camera. The glow from the screen illuminated her scars. For a long time she said nothing. Then she hit record. "My name is Layla Pierce," she said quietly. "You think you know what happened. You think I deserve this. But here's the truth. The ones who called me ugly were the ones who started the fire." She stopped, her breath shaking. Then she saved the video but didn't post it. She wasn't ready. Not yet. When she turned back toward the mirror, the reflection was already watching her. But this time it wasn't just her. Behind her mirrored self stood faint outlines, people. Faces she recognized. Tyler. Emily. Her father. All staring through the glass like a photograph burned halfway through. Layla whispered, "What are you showing me?" The glass shimmered faintly, rippling like a surface of water disturbed by wind. The faces faded, replaced by the faint reflection of fire again. Her home, her kitchen, her mother's outline in the smoke. Then, clear as daylight, she saw it. A figure at the back door holding something metallic. A canister. The hand that dropped it wore a bracelet. A silver one with a small charm. Emily's bracelet. Layla's throat tightened. She stepped closer to the mirror, her breath fogging the glass. "No," she whispered. "That's not possible." The vision faded. The mirror went still. Her heart pounded as she stumbled back onto the bed. She replayed the image in her mind again and again. Could it be real? Or was it something the mirror made her see because she wanted revenge? The next morning, Dr. Caldwell entered, clipboard in hand. "You look unsettled," she said gently. Layla hesitated. "Do you believe in guilt that can be seen?" The doctor frowned. What do you mean? Like when people lie, you can see it on their face. That's intuition, Dr. Caldwell said. The brain reads micro-expressions. It's not mystical, it's human. Layla nodded slowly. Then maybe my mirror isn't showing lies. Maybe it's just telling me what I already know. Caldwell smiled, uncertain. Mirrors can't tell you anything, Layla. Only people can. After she left, Layla sat in silence for a long time. Her pulse was steady, her breathing even. But inside, something sharp had begun to form. An idea that glowed the way embers do before they become flames. That evening, Ethan returned to collect her tray. He noticed the untouched food and the phone lying face down. You okay? He asked. Layla looked up, her voice distant but sure. Do you know what it feels like when the whole world watches you burn? He hesitated. No. You start wondering if they want you to survive. Ethan didn't know how to answer. He looked at the mirror nervously. You talk to that thing a lot, he said softly. It listens, Layla said. He gave her a small, uneasy nod and left. When night came, she recorded another video. This time she spoke louder. You said I'm obsessed with revenge, she began. Maybe I am. Maybe that's what happens when people turn your pain into their entertainment. You called me Fire Queen. You called me monster. But fire doesn't destroy, it reveals. She looked straight into the camera. You'll see yourself soon enough. She didn't post it. Not yet. She walked toward the mirror, phone still recording. The camera caught both her face and its reflection. Who started the fire? She whispered. The mirror darkened. Smoke curled across its surface. Then a flash of light, her mother's voice screaming, her father running, and again the figure at the back door. This time the reflection zoomed closer, clearer. It wasn't Emily. The bracelet was similar, but the hand was larger, masculine. Her breath caught. Tyler. She stumbled back. The phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor, recording the moment her reflection moved without her. The mirrored Layla stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly, lips forming silent words. Layla bent down slowly, picking up the phone. The reflection smiled. She replayed the video frame by frame, but on the phone screen nothing strange appeared. No moving reflection, no faces, no fire, just her talking to herself in an empty hospital room. She turned back to the mirror. The surface was smooth again. Her pulse slowed, her fear folding into focus. If the mirror was lying, she would prove it. If it wasn't, she would expose everything. Outside, thunder rolled again, the same sound that had followed her since the night of the fire. She stood in front of the mirror until the lights flickered and went out, leaving only her reflection in the darkness, burned, scarred, alive. And for the first time she smiled back. The hospital moved her again. They said it was to make space for new patients, but Layla knew it was because people had started whispering about her. The nurses talked when they thought she was asleep. They said strange things happened in her room. Lights flickering, machines beeping without cause, reflections that didn't match. Room 208 became its own kind of story, the kind people whispered about but never admitted believing. They wheeled her down the long corridor, past pale doors and buzzing lights, until they reached the same west wing where the walls carried the scent of mildew and time. Temporary placement, one nurse said quickly, adjusting her four-line. We'll move you again once the maintenance crew finishes. Layla didn't answer. She watched the mirror as they rolled it along beside her. She'd asked them not to remove it. Something in her tone had convinced them. The staff avoided eye contact now, and she preferred it that way. When they left her alone, she sat upright and stared at the mirror hanging opposite her bed. It was the same oval glass, but the frame looked older here, darker. The silver edging had begun to rust, and thin cracks ran like veins through its surface. The room around it seemed to bend subtly, as though the air thickened near the glass. She whispered, "You followed me." The reflection shifted. For a brief second, her mirrored self looked clearer than ever, less broken, more whole, as if the scars belonged only to the real Layla. She reached out, fingers hovering inches from the surface. The glass felt cool, almost alive. A knock startled her. Dr. Caldwell stepped in, clipboard tucked beneath her arm. "You've been quiet," she said. "Too quiet." Layla didn't look away from the mirror. "I've been listening." "To what?" "Everything it doesn't say." Caldwell frowned slightly. I heard about the power outage last night. You seemed distressed. It showed me something, Layla said softly. The mirror. Layla nodded. What did it show you? Layla hesitated, her gaze fixed on her reflection. The fire. But not how I remember it. I saw someone there. Someone who shouldn't have been. Caldwell's tone gentled. Hallucinations after trauma are common. The mind tries to rewrite what it can't process. Layla's voice hardened. It wasn't my mind. The therapist sighed. Layla, sometimes our senses betray us. The mirror isn't alive. It's a surface. It reflects what you bring to it. Layla turned then, meeting her eyes for the first time. What if I'm not the only one bringing something? Caldwell hesitated, caught between professionalism and curiosity. You think the mirror is responding to you? I think it's remembering for me. The doctor scribbled a note. Let's take a break from it. I'll have the staff cover it tonight. No. Layla. No one touches it, she said firmly. If they do, I'll leave. The words were quiet but sharp enough to freeze the doctor in place. Finally, Caldwell nodded. Fine. But you need sleep. When she left, Layla stayed awake. The hallway outside was silent except for the occasional squeak of shoes on linoleum. The air felt heavy, as if the building were holding its breath. She stood and crossed the room. Her reflection met her halfway. The scarred skin, the hollow eyes, the uneven lips, it was all there. But behind her reflection, faint outlines began to form again. Her mother's shadow first, reaching burning. Then Tyler's figure blurred by smoke. Layla pressed her palm to the glass. Show me, she whispered. The reflection darkened. The sound of crackling fire filled her ears, faint but real. She saw the house again, the kitchen, the flames, the back door swinging open. The figure with the canister moved quickly, purposeful. She followed the movement with her eyes, breath tight. Then the mirror rippled and a second image appeared. Not the fire, not the night, something earlier. A memory buried so deep it made her knees weak. She saw herself laughing at a party. Emily beside her, holding a drink. Tyler across the room. Someone had spilled alcohol on the floor. Someone had said, "Don't light that candle yet." Layla watched herself smile, oblivious. The image shifted again to a spark, a flash, then darkness. Her pulse thundered. Are you saying it wasn't an accident? The reflection didn't answer, but her mirrored self tilted her head, eyes glowing faintly. She stumbled backward, gripping the side of the bed. The machines around her beeped erratically. She closed her eyes, whispering, "Stop. Please stop." When she opened them, everything was normal again. The mirror stood still, silent, innocent. By morning, the nurses avoided her room. Word had spread that the machines in 208 kept malfunctioning. Dr. Caldwell requested a full psychological evaluation. Layla agreed, but only if the mirror stayed. During the session, the doctor asked, "Why protect it?" Layla's voice was steady. "Because it's the only thing that doesn't lie to me." Caldwell folded her hands. "Truth can destroy as much as it heals. Then let it destroy." The therapist exhaled. "If you truly believe what you're seeing, what do you plan to do with it?" Layla looked past her, to the faint reflection of the mirror in the window. Tell the world what it refuses to see. That night, she set up her phone again. The mirror filled half the frame. Her scarred face filled the rest. "You've all heard their stories," she began. "Now you'll hear mine." Her voice was low, unsteady but real. "They said I was reckless, that the fire was my fault. But they forgot something. The truth always leaves a mark, just like flames do." She paused, staring into the mirror. "You want to know who started it? Watch closely." The reflection behind her shimmered, showing flashes of people she knew. Emily crying, Tyler yelling, her father signing papers, her mother screaming her name. Layla didn't look away. "This is what guilt looks like," she said. "It doesn't burn you from the outside. It rots you from within." She ended the recording and played it back. On her phone, she appeared calm, resolute. The mirror in the background looked ordinary, nothing strange at all. She uploaded the video. By morning, it had 50,000 views. By noon, 2 million. Some called her brave. Others called her delusional. Tyler's statement appeared online within hours. "She's unstable. Please don't give her attention." Emily posted something similar. Even Dr. Caldwell refused to confirm or deny her patient's claims. Layla sat in the quiet room, scrolling through the chaos she'd unleashed. The world was watching again, but this time it wasn't pitying. It was listening. She turned toward the mirror. "You wanted them to see," she whispered. "Now they do." Her reflection smiled faintly, the faintest shimmer of light dancing across its eyes. Outside, the hospital lights flickered once and steadied. Room 208 stayed awake all night. The morning after the video went viral, the hospital became a cage. Reporters called pretending to be relatives. Security guards hovered outside her door. Nurses came in pairs now, careful not to meet her eyes. Room 208 had turned into a headline. The girl who talked to the mirror. Layla sat on the edge of her bed, scrolling through the noise. Some comments were cruel, some worshipful, most confused. Conspiracy channels replayed her video, pausing on the mirror like detectives searching for hidden frames. "Look at the flicker," one caption read. "Proof of something supernatural." She wasn't sure what she had unleashed. The video had not been edited. She knew that. But millions of people claimed they saw different things. Shapes behind her, whispers in the audio. A faint reflection of someone pouring liquid through a door. Everyone saw their own guilt. That thought chilled her more than any haunting could. Dr. Caldwell arrived mid-afternoon, her posture tight. "You've created quite a storm," she said. Layla didn't look up. "People finally care." "They don't care, Layla. They're entertained." "Maybe that's what caring looks like now." The doctor set a folder on the table. "Administration wants me to move you again. The hospital's receiving threats. Half the staff believes your mirror is cursed." "Then move them," Layla said. Caldwell sighed. "You're traumatized, but you're also intelligent. You know the difference between truth and projection. If you keep feeding this, it will consume you." Layla's eyes lifted slowly. It already did. The night of the fire. The doctor softened. "Then let's stop reliving it." Layla turned to the mirror. "You can't stop echoes. They just get louder until someone listens." Caldwell hesitated. "You think the mirror amplifies guilt?" "I don't think," Layla said. "I see." Later that evening, the hallway outside filled with whispers. She heard Emily's name. The nurse said she was there, demanding to see her. Layla's stomach twisted. The last time they'd spoken, Emily had fled in tears. Now she was back, perhaps because the world was watching. The door opened slowly. Emily stepped in wearing sunglasses, though the room was dim. "You look strong," she said carefully. "Take them off," Layla said. Emily hesitated. "The lights hurt my eyes." "Take them off." She did. Beneath the frames, her eyes were red, rimmed with exhaustion. "You shouldn't have posted that video," she said. "You made everything worse." "For who?" "For all of us. People are saying insane things. Tyler's getting death threats. My parents won't leave the house." Layla's voice stayed calm. "Did you start the fire?" Emily froze. "What?" "The mirror showed me." "That's crazy." "Is it?" Emily's reflection appeared beside her own in the glass, slightly delayed. Layla watched it closely. The real Emily kept her face blank, but her mirrored self looked terrified. Her mouth trembled in the glass, though not in reality. "You were there," Layla said quietly. "You spilled alcohol on the floor that night. You were the one who shouted to light the candle." "It was an accident," Emily whispered. Layla stepped closer. "So you admit it?" "I didn't mean for it to spread. Tyler told me it would burn out." Layla's pulse quickened. "Tyler?" Emily nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "He said he wanted to scare you. You were going to break up with him. He thought if you saw something small burn, you'd stay inside where he could be the hero. But the curtain caught. I tried to stop him." Layla felt her knees weaken. "He started it?" Emily nodded again, sobbing. "He said it was just smoke." The mirror darkened. Behind their reflections, the fire replayed again. Tyler's silhouette, the spark, the explosion of light. Layla watched her own mirrored self step closer to the glass, expression unreadable. "Why didn't you tell the police?" she asked. Emily whispered. "He promised he'd ruin me. He said no one would believe a drunk teenager over him. He recorded everything." Layla's chest tightened. She turned away from the mirror, facing Emily directly. "You let me think it was my fault." You let the world think I deserved it. Emily reached out. I was scared. So was I, Layla said, voice shaking. But I was the one who burned. Emily collapsed into the chair, crying uncontrollably. The mirror flickered again. In its surface, her reflection covered her face and screamed, though no sound reached the room. Layla stared, calm now. Do you see it too? Emily looked up. See what? Your guilt. The reflection behind her began to fade until only Layla's image remained. The room felt colder. The monitor beside the bed beeped once, then steadied. Get out, Layla said softly. Emily obeyed. When she was gone, Layla turned back to the mirror. You were right, she whispered. It wasn't an accident. Her reflection nodded. The next day, Dr. Caldwell returned tense. Emily came to me, she said. She confessed part of it. She says Tyler brought a can of lighter fluid. He wanted a dramatic gesture. It spiraled out of control. So it's true, Layla said. The doctor sighed. It seems so. But she's terrified. She won't speak publicly. Then I will. Caldwell leaned forward. Be careful. The internet isn't justice. It's fire again. Layla's gaze was steady. Then I'm not afraid of fire anymore. When night came, the hospital corridors were empty. Layla set her phone on the tray, hit record and faced the mirror again. You wanted truth, she said to the camera. Here it is. Tyler Matthews started the fire. Emily Novak watched it happen. My parents covered it up because they couldn't bear the scandal. She let the silence hang, then added, If you think I'm lying, ask the mirror. Behind her, the reflection came alive. Smoke curled, flames flickered, and the ghost of that night replayed itself one more time. For a few seconds, the video caught everything: the shadow of Tyler's hand, the glint of metal, the rush of fire. Layla ended the recording and uploaded it before fear could stop her. Within hours, the internet exploded. News outlets picked it up. Tyler's name trended. Commentators dissected every frame. Some called it evidence. Others called it madness. Police reopened the investigation. By morning, Dr. Caldwell burst into the room. Do you understand what you've done? She demanded. Yes, Layla said calmly. I told the truth. The doctor shook her head. The mirror footage, no one can explain it. It shouldn't exist. Layla looked at the glass. Maybe it isn't supposed to be explained. Maybe guilt finally learned how to show itself. The mirror reflected them both now, the doctor pale, shaken. Layla steady, unblinking. For the first time, the reflection didn't lag. It moved perfectly with her. Her scars glowed faintly in the morning light. And somewhere deep inside the glass, the echoes went quiet. The hospital was no longer silent. Reporters camped outside the main entrance. Protesters shouted about truth and justice while others accused her of manipulation. Every screen in the lobby showed her video. The mirror girl, they called her now. Room 208 was under lockdown. Security guards stood at both ends of the corridor. Nurses whispered as they passed, pretending not to stare. Layla sat on her bed, half hidden by shadows, listening to the storm she had created. Dr. Caldwell entered without knocking. Tyler's been taken in for questioning, she said. He denies everything. He's calling your footage fake. Layla's voice was steady. The mirror doesn't fake. Layla, you need to understand. If the footage can't be verified, it will destroy you too. I'm already destroyed. The doctor's eyes softened. Then what do you want? Layla turned toward the mirror. A reckoning. Later that day, a detective arrived. A tall man named Inspector Rains. His tone carried the same doubt she'd grown used to. We just need a few minutes of your time, he said, pulling up a chair. The video caused chaos. If you edited it, you need to tell me now. I didn't, she said. He watched her closely. The reflections move independently. That's impossible. Maybe guilt makes the impossible visible. He sighed. Look, I'm not here to debate philosophy. I just need facts. Layla leaned forward. Then asked the mirror. He frowned. Excuse me. She gestured to the glass. Stand there. Look. The detective humored her. He stepped in front of the mirror, folding his arms. His reflection looked normal, until it blinked before he did. He froze. What did you see? Layla asked quietly. Nothing. he muttered, stepping back. Just a trick of the light. She smiled faintly. That's what they all say. When he left, his face was pale. 2 nurses followed, whispering nervously. That night, Layla received an email. It was from an unknown sender. The subject line read, "You don't know the whole story." Attached was a short video, grainy surveillance footage from the night of the fire. She pressed play. The camera showed the back of her house, timestamped just minutes before the explosion. A shadow approached the door carrying a metal canister. The figure bent, poured something, then paused. Lightning flashed, and for a split second the face became clear. Her father. Layla's body went cold. She replayed the footage again and again, hoping she was wrong. The movements were unmistakable. The limp in his right leg, the shape of his shoulders. She whispered, "No." The mirror behind her shimmered. Her reflection turned its head before she did, eyes full of a sadness that felt too human. She whispered again, "Why him?" The reflection moved its lips slowly. She couldn't hear the words, but she understood. Insurance. Protection. Control. Her knees gave way. She sank to the floor, gasping. The truth had kept shifting, revealing new faces every time she thought it was done. The door opened suddenly. Dr. Caldwell stood there, startled. "Layla, what happened?" Layla held up the phone, showing her the footage. It was him. The doctor watched in silence, disbelief etched across her face. "Where did you get this?" "I don't know. Someone sent it." Caldwell's hand shook as she lowered the phone. "This changes everything. But you can't release it yet. We have to confirm it's real." Layla looked at the mirror. "It's real." The doctor stepped closer to the glass, studying her own reflection. "You think it shows truth?" "I know it does." Caldwell's reflection blinked twice. Then, just for a heartbeat, it looked directly at Layla with eyes that weren't the doctor's. Something ancient moved behind the surface, light bending, shapes forming. The doctor gasped and stepped back. "What was that?" "Echoes," Layla said quietly. "They live here now." By morning, the hospital couldn't contain the pressure. The media leaked the surveillance video. The internet exploded again. The Mirror Girl's father involved in fire investigation. Layla watched from her bed as reporters dissected her life frame by frame. At noon, the hallway outside filled with footsteps. Dr. Caldwell rushed in. "Your father's here. He demanded to see you." Layla's heart pounded. "Let him in." The door opened and he entered slowly, dressed in the same gray suit he had worn to every hospital visit, face pale, jaw tight. "You shouldn't have done this," he said. "You shouldn't have burned your own house," she replied. His composure cracked. "It was supposed to be controlled. The fire was an insurance claim. I didn't know you were still inside. You didn't check. I thought you went with your mother. You thought wrong." He ran a hand through his thinning hair. "I was desperate. The debts, the bills, your mother's treatments. So you burned everything." He looked away. "I couldn't lose everything." "You already did," she said. Behind him, the mirror began to ripple. His reflection turned toward him, expression filled with horror. Flames rose inside the glass, flickering around his mirrored face. He spun around, staring at it. "What is that?" "Your guilt," Layla said. The flames inside the mirror grew brighter, surrounding the reflection. He stumbled backward, hitting the wall. "Make it stop." "I can't," she whispered. "Only you can." He covered his face, trembling. "I'm sorry, Layla. I never meant to hurt you." The reflection reached toward him from the glass, hand outstretched, fingers glowing with firelight. He fell to his knees, sobbing. Dr. Caldwell burst in, alarmed by the shouting. "What's happening?" Layla didn't move. The mirror calmed. The flames vanished, leaving only their 3 reflections staring back. Her father sat shaking on the floor, whispering prayers. Caldwell looked at her. What did he see? "The same thing everyone sees," Layla said softly. "The truth." Later, when the police escorted him away, the hallway fell silent again. The nurses watched from the distance, whispering like witnesses to something sacred and terrifying. Layla stood in the doorway, her hospital gown fluttering with the air from the vents. The mirror hung behind her, catching the entire hallway in its surface. Doctors, guards, cameras, and her. For the first time, her reflection didn't look trapped. It looked free. Dr. Caldwell approached carefully. "It's over," she said. Layla shook her head. "No. It's beginning." As she spoke, every light in the corridor flickered once. For a heartbeat, everyone's reflection in the mirror shifted. Not matching their movements, but lagging behind like ghosts. Gasps echoed through the hallway. Then the lights steadied. The reflections aligned again. Layla turned away, her voice calm. They all saw it now. Caldwell swallowed. Saw what? That mirrors don't lie. People do. She walked back into her room, closed the door, and sat before the glass once more. Her scars caught the afternoon sun. The mirror's surface glowed faintly alive. For the first time since the fire, the echoes were silent. But deep beneath the glass, something waited, patient, knowing that truth always finds another face to show itself in. 2 weeks later, the hospital board transferred her to a private rehabilitation center on the city's edge. The press had grown unbearable. Photographers hid behind bushes. Strangers claimed to dream of the mirror in room 208. It had become a national obsession. Hashtags trended. Documentaries were announced. Everyone had a version of the story, but no one had her truth. The center was quieter. Sunlight fell through large windows, and the air smelled of disinfectant and rain. Still, Layla kept the mirror. When they tried to take it, she refused treatment. The administrators gave in. They didn't understand why she needed it, but they'd learned not to argue with the girl whose reflection had shaken the country. Dr. Caldwell visited every other day now, no longer as a skeptic but as something closer to a guardian. "There's a charity gala next week," she said during one session. "They're dedicating it to burn survivors. They want you to speak." Layla's eyes stayed on the mirror. "To show gratitude? To share your strength," Caldwell said softly. "Or to turn me into a spectacle again?" The doctor hesitated. "You can choose what to say. You've already made people listen. Maybe now you can make them understand." Layla didn't answer. Her reflection watched her, calm and still, as if waiting for her decision. The night of the event arrived with a quiet drizzle. The ballroom shimmered with chandeliers and false sympathy. Cameras lined the back wall. Rows of people sat in polished chairs. Politicians, donors, reporters, the very same faces who once called her delusional. Layla walked slowly to the stage, her skin glowing faintly beneath soft lights. The audience fell silent. Some gasped. Others stared, unsure whether to look at her or away. Dr. Caldwell stood near the exit, her hands clasped tightly. The moderator introduced her as the girl who survived the fire and taught us to see beauty beyond scars. The applause was polite, distant, hollow. Layla reached the podium. The microphone crackled once. She looked down at her notes, then folded them and placed them aside. "I wasn't supposed to speak tonight," she began. "I was supposed to thank everyone for their kindness. But kindness isn't what saved me." A ripple moved through the crowd. "I used to believe fire destroyed," she continued. "I know now that it only reveals. It burns away the lies, the masks, the faces we pretend to wear. You called me broken. You called me cursed. But all I ever did was survive your reflection." The audience sat still, spellbound. Layla's voice gained strength. "You turned my pain into content. You made my scars a story that wasn't yours to tell. But here's what you didn't expect. The mirror you gave me doesn't show what's ugly. It shows what's true." She paused. Somewhere in the crowd, a reporter raised a phone to record. Others followed. She nodded toward the back of the stage. 2 assistants rolled out the covered mirror, the one from room 208. Gasps filled the room. Dr. Caldwell's heart pounded in her chest. "This," Layla said, pulling away the sheet, "is the truth you kept running from." The glass gleamed beneath the lights. For a heartbeat, it reflected only the audience, hundreds of faces, pale and uncertain. Then the surface shimmered. One by one, reflections began to change. People flinched as they saw themselves crying, lying, betraying. Some stood abruptly, backing away as if from their own ghosts. Cameras flashed wildly. A woman screamed. The mirror rippled with light, showing images not of flames but of guilt. Arguments, secrets, hidden cruelties. Layla's voice cut through the chaos. "Do you see it? It's not cursed. It's honest. The world doesn't need another hero. It needs a reflection." Security guards rushed forward, unsure whether to stop her or protect her. The event coordinator shouted to cut the lights, but no one moved. The electricity surged. Chandeliers flickered. The mirror pulsed once, a wave of light sweeping across the room. Layla stood firm. You wanted to know what really happened that night. My father started the fire. My friends let it burn. But so did everyone who watched and said nothing. The audience was silent now, mesmerized. She stepped closer to the glass. This is what fire does. It leaves you with nothing but the truth. The mirror's glow softened. The chaos settled into a heavy stillness. Layla lifted her hand and touched the glass. Her reflection met her halfway, whole and calm. For the first time, their movements were perfectly aligned. Then the light stabilized, the mirror went still, and the room erupted in applause. Raw, emotional, confused applause that came from something deeper than admiration. Dr. Caldwell rushed to her side, whispering, "Layla, are you all right?" Layla turned, eyes glistening. For the first time, yes. The host took the stage, trembling. "Ladies and gentlemen," he stammered, "let's thank Layla Pierce for reminding us what it means to survive." The applause grew louder, but Layla barely heard it. Her focus stayed on the mirror. Her reflection smiled, peaceful and final. Then, as she stepped away, she noticed something extraordinary. The scars on her reflection were gone. She touched her own face. The skin still felt rough, uneven, human. But the reflection was healed. Dr. Caldwell saw it too. She gasped quietly. "Layla," she whispered. "Look." Layla smiled faintly. "It's not me who changed. It's what I see." She turned back to the crowd, her voice calm but resonant. "You can cover scars with makeup or filters. But the real healing begins when you stop hiding. I lived behind mirrors my whole life. Now I walk through them." The audience rose to their feet. The applause thundered. Cameras flashed like bursts of light. For a brief, trembling moment, she felt every scar, every burn, every breath she'd fought for become worth it. Afterward, backstage, Caldwell embraced her. "You did more than speak," she said. "You started something." Layla glanced at the mirror as staff began to pack it away. "No," she said softly. "It started me." That night, as she returned to her room, the mirror was set against the wall, its surface faintly glowing in the dark. She stood before it one last time. Her reflection smiled again, whole and free. She whispered, "Thank you." For a second, the reflection mouthed the same words back. Then the glow faded, leaving only her in the quiet room. Scarred, alive, and unafraid. Outside, the city lights shimmered across glass towers, reflections everywhere. Millions of mirrors, millions of stories waiting to be seen. And somewhere in the world, people began to look at themselves differently. The video of Layla's speech spread faster than the first. Within hours, it filled every feed, every screen, every late-night broadcast. The moment the mirror lit up on stage became an icon, replayed, analyzed, debated. Some said it was a trick of light, others called it divine. But no one could deny what they saw. A girl who no longer hid from her reflection. By dawn, the foundation running the charity event announced new donations pouring in for burn victims. Schools requested her to speak. Survivors sent messages from across the world. Women and men who had hidden their scars for years, now taking photos without filters, saying, "You made us visible." Layla watched the world change from her quiet room. The mirror stood by the window, framed in morning light. Its surface was still. For once, it didn't show echoes or flames, only her whole, imperfect, alive. Dr. Caldwell entered carrying 2 cups of tea. "You've become a revolution," she said, setting one on the table. Layla smiled faintly. "I didn't plan to." "That's the thing about truth," the doctor said. "It doesn't ask for permission." They sat in silence for a while. Outside, the rain had stopped. The world felt freshly washed, raw, waiting. Caldwell leaned forward. "You should know, your father confessed everything. The police released the report this morning. Insurance fraud, arson, negligence. He said he'd accept whatever sentence the court gives." Layla looked down. "I thought I'd feel relief." "I don't." "You feel empty," Caldwell said gently. "Because revenge doesn't rebuild. But forgiveness does." Layla's eyes lifted to the mirror. "Forgiveness doesn't erase the fire." "No," Caldwell said. "It just stops you from burning in it." Layla stood and approached the mirror. Her reflection met her halfway. For the first time there was no lag, no distortion, just perfect alignment. "You've shown me everything," she whispered. "Now what?" The surface shimmered faintly, then steadied. Her reflection tilted its head, calm and silent. That afternoon, she walked the garden paths outside the center for the first time without covering her face. Patients and visitors stopped to watch her pass, not out of pity but respect. Children waved. One little girl with burn marks on her neck smiled shyly and said, "You're the fire lady." Layla crouched beside her. "Fire doesn't destroy," she said. "It teaches." The girl's smile widened. Later in her room she scrolled through messages. A filmmaker wanted to tell her story. Activists invited her to conferences. The world she once feared to face now waited for her voice. But inside, she felt the quiet pull of something else. Something unfinished. That night she dreamed of room 208. The old walls, the flickering lights, the smell of rain leaking through cracks. In the dream the mirror stood alone, glowing faintly. When she stepped toward it, she saw not her reflection but everyone else's. The people she'd lost, the ones who hurt her, even those who watched silently. They were all there, trapped between glass and guilt. Her mother appeared last. Unburned. Smiling softly. Layla whispered, "Why didn't you call?" Her mother's reflection placed a hand on the inside of the glass. "I couldn't face what I did to you," her lips said without sound. Tears burned down Layla's cheeks. "I forgive you," she whispered. The mirror glowed brighter. Light spilled from its edges, surrounding her. She woke with tears still on her face, the morning sun pouring through the window. Something felt different. The mirror no longer hummed with unseen energy. It stood quiet, peaceful. She touched the glass. It was warm, almost pulsing with life, but there were no visions. Just her. Dr. Caldwell came in later with news. "They're releasing you next week. You're officially discharged." Layla smiled. "So I go back to the world. Or forward into it," Caldwell said. On her last night at the center, she placed the mirror on the floor and knelt before it. The moonlight poured through the window, washing over both of them. "You've carried me this far," she said softly. "But I think you were never here to haunt me. You were here to show me who I already was." Her reflection nodded once. Then for the first time it spoke, not aloud but in the way truth speaks inside the heart. "You don't need me anymore." A thin crack appeared across the glass, faint but final. She didn't flinch. The crack spread, spidering through the surface until the mirror fractured into 100 pieces. Each shard caught a different angle of her face. Some scarred, some smooth, all real. She smiled. "Goodbye." When the staff entered the next morning, they found her packing. The broken mirror lay on the floor, sunlight spilling across its shards. "Do you want us to dispose of it?" one nurse asked. Layla shook her head. "No. Let it stay. It belongs to this place." She walked out of the center with a small backpack and a calm she'd never known before. Cameras waited outside, flashes blinding her for a moment, but she didn't hide. She faced them. Reporters shouted questions about forgiveness, about her father, about the mirror. She answered only one. "What happened to the mirror?" someone asked. "It did its job," Layla said simply. Her car pulled away. The center faded in the rearview mirror, replaced by a horizon streaked with morning gold. Months passed. Layla began speaking at schools, rehabilitation centers, shelters. Her story wasn't about fire anymore. It was about reflection. She taught people to face themselves, to stop fearing their scars, to let truth change them instead of destroy them. During one of her talks, a woman approached her afterward. "You saved my daughter," she said. She stopped hiding her face. Layla smiled gently. She saved herself. That night, alone in her apartment, she stood before a plain, new mirror on the wall. No ripples. No light. Just her. She studied the reflection for a long time, then whispered, "Are you still there?" Nothing happened. Just silence. But in that silence she realized it was better that way. The truth no longer needed to speak. It had been lived. She turned off the light. The city shimmered outside, countless windows reflecting countless lives. And for the first time since the night the world burned, Layla felt no echo, no shadow, only peace. She smiled softly. Somewhere deep within every reflection in the city, A faint light flickered once, like the heartbeat of truth itself. And though no one could see it, the world looked back.